This is part 4 of the Chapter 9 review, and we're going to pick up where we left off on problem 28. And we're using sine and cosine to find the values of the variables. So here in number 28, we're looking for S and R. So for S, it's some old horse. Now we got it right off the bat. So sine 36 equals S over 5. Yes, I know my S and 5 look very similar, but that's an S, that's a 5. Multiply both sides by 5. 5 sine 36 equals S, and S is approximately 2.9. Now, let's do R. We know it's not sine. Caught a horse. Cosine is R. So cosine of 36 equals caught a horse. R over 5. Multiply by 5. 5 cos 36 equals R. R is approximately 4.0. Now on to 29, and we're looking for V and W. So some old horse gives us V. Sine of 70 equals V over 10. Multiply by 10. 10 sine 70 equals V. V is approximately 9.4, and caught a horse, cosine is W. Cos 70 equals caught a horse. W over 10. 10 cos 70 equals W. W is approximately 3.4. And now on to problem 30. Now in these two problems, they're asking us to use the cofunction identities. And what that means, remember in class we talked about sine and cosine. The co in front of sine can be taken for the complement. Sine and cosine are simply shifted 90 degrees from each other, which means that the sine of some angle A equals the cosine of 90 minus A, and vice versa. Cosine of some angle A equals sine of 90 minus A. So, for example, in number 30, sine of 72 is approximately 0.9511. And that should be equivalent to cosine of 90 minus 72, which is the cosine of 18, which is also equal to, or approximately equal to, 0.9511. So these are the cofunction identities. Now in 31, we're going to go the opposite way. We want to write cosine of 29 in terms of sine. So that equals sine of 90 minus 29, which is sine of 61, which is approximately equal to 0.8746. And cosine of 29 is the same value, 8746. So those are the co-function identities. And now on to problem 32. Up to this point in our problems, we've been given angles and we've been looking for ratios of sides or a specific side length. In these cases, we're being given a ratio and we're going to be looking for an angle. So we have Q as an acute angle. We want to use a calculator to approximate the measure of Q to the nearest tenth of a degree. So before we can use the calculator, however, we're going to actually have to solve for the variable Q. Now, as we talked about before, the angle is a fundamental part of this function. It's the input to the function. So in order to get the Q or the angle isolated, we have to undo the function. That is, take the inverse of whatever this function does, and that undoes that function. Now the inverse of cosine is called arc cosine, and it's written cosine to the -1. It's not to the -1 power. The -1 is just to indicate the inverse nature. So for 32, we say that cosine Q equals 0.32. To undo this, we're going to take the arc cosine of both sides. So arc cos of cosine of Q equals arc cos of 0.32. The arc cos of cos, these guys undo each other, so we're left with Q on this side, and that equals the arc cosine of 0.32. You could also write ARC-COS if you wish, but this is a little quicker. And now we plug this directly into our calculator. In case you were wondering how to do this, I pulled up my calculator here, and we have arc cos of 0.32. You'll notice above sine, cosine, and tangent, you have sine to the -1, cosine to the -1, tangent -1. Those are the arc functions. So we want arc cosine, so it's second cosine, and that's 0.32, and enter. And it gives us 71.3, rounded to the nearest tenth. Now each scientific calculator is going to have a slightly different way to get to the arc functions, so just investigate your particular calculator and determine how to get to these arc functions. Alright, so that's 71.3, so we can go ahead and write that. So Q is approximately 71.3. Now let's do 33. Sine Q equals 0.91. We're going to do the same thing, only this time we're going to use arc sine. Arc sine of Q equals arc sine of 0.91. Therefore, Q equals arc sine of 0.91. Q is approximately 65.5. And then for 34, we're doing the same thing with tangent. Tan Q equals 0.04. Take the arctan of both sides. So Q is approximately 2.3. And now on to problem 35. In these three problems, they're asking us to solve the right triangle, round the decimal answers to the nearest tenth. What it means to solve a right triangle is to find all the missing angles and all the missing sides. So in 35, we have two of the three sides, so we can find this third side by Pythagorean theorem. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll call this x. So x squared plus 10 squared equals 15 squared. X squared equals 15 squared minus 10 squared. X equals the square root. 15 squared minus 10 squared. X is approximately 11.2. Now we have left to find A and B. I'm not going to use the calculated side because that's an approximation. I want to use exact values wherever possible to find approximations. So starting at A, we have some old horse. Nope, that's not going to work because it uses this side. Caught a horse. So for A, it's cosine. Cosine of A equals 10 over 15. Now we have to undo A, so we're going to take the arc cos of both sides. So A equals arc cos of 10 over 15. I just took the arc cos of this side. I didn't write it, but in the arc cos of this side. These undid each other, left us with A, and then we have the arc cos of 10 over 5. A is approximately 48.2. And then for B, it's going to be some old horse, sine. So sine of B equals 10 over 15. And B is arc sine. I did the same thing I did here, only with arc sine. Arc sine of 10 over 15. And B is approximately 41.8. Now for 36. We have the same idea. Here we have 37 degrees and a 90-degree angle. We can use the triangle sum theorem because these two angles are complementary. L has to be 53 because 53 plus 37 is 90. So the measure of angle L is 53 degrees. And now I've got to find this side and this side. So I want this side here, that's ML. Some old horse. Nope, I don't have this side. Caught a horse. No, taking oats away. That's the one. So tangent of 37 equals ML over 6 oats away. 6 tan 37 equals ML. ML is approximately 4.5. And now I need NL. So this is going to be caught a horse. And that's what I'm going to use for that. So cosine of 37 equals 6 over NL. Now I'm going to have to multiply by NL. And divide by cos 37. NL is approximately 7.5. And now we'll do 37 in the next video.